when the big walleye was weighed, the 30-incher was weighed. And from May 12th to May 14th, we had 4 Atlantic salmon come in over 10 pounds. And then in that time frame too, we had a lot of 8-pounders that were coming in. That let's give away some rum. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. Hey, of course, we're here in the studio. We've got a great guest with us today for you guys that are coming in the store, for you guys that come into the shop and get bait or tackle, or you might have some questions to ask, or you just want to give us a hard time. Obviously, you recognize Nate. What's up, Nate?
What's going on?
Not too much, brother. Nate just graduated from high school. He fished a little bit of high school tournaments, correct?
Yep.
So fish some high school tournaments. I don't know, probably not fishing collegiately, but fishing tournaments as you move forward.
Yeah, I'm not fishing collegiate this year. I'll definitely be participating in a couple tournaments, walleye stuff, bass stuff, just kind of whatever I can when I have free time.
Yeah, man. Well, you have the freedom to do it now.
Yeah.
Now that school's gone.
Yeah.
And the freedom to work.
Which is really nice.
I figured today would be a great day to have Nate come on the show. A big reason why is, as you've seen in the title of this episode, we're going to talk a lot about the Spring Derby. We had an absolutely epic Spring Derby this year. We've ran it every year now for the last 3 years. By far the highest amount of contestants, the highest amount of participation, the most fish weighed, our biggest walleye winner, not our biggest salmon or trout winner. We still have yet to beat year one. We had a 14-pound Atlantic.
That's as big as they get.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was a 14-pound lake trout.
Holy crap.
So they get bigger, but Dean actually caught that up on the sandbar.
Really?
So we not quite as big for the salmon. The kids did an awesome job. We did more giveaways than we've ever done. It was pretty epic, and you were there every step of the way with us.
Yeah.
Well, just about.
It was really cool to see and experience all that, having everybody bring in their big fish. It started off really good. I think it started off better than ever, and the salmon portion of it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
How many big salmon we saw come through, and just how many in general. With Atlantics and steelhead, but the majority being Atlantics, it was really, really good to see that.
Yeah, he's spot on. It was really good to see all the Atlantics come through. We're gonna touch a little bit later on what the big walleyes were, kind of where they were caught, some techniques that were really good throughout the season. We're gonna get into what happened there in May when it was just big Atlantic after big Atlantic after big Atlantic. So we're gonna get into all that, and then towards the end of the giveaway, we're also giving away some rum.
Oh yeah.
You're not allowed to do it.
Nope.
You've got to be 21 or older. But yeah, we're gonna give away some of Papa's Pilar rum. We'll let you choose. Out of the 3, we've got the dark blend, we've got the blonde, and then we've got the special, the rye blend as well. So these are the 3 rums that Papa's has. We told you that we've been that they've been on the way. I've been a little busy lately, so I apologize for not having an episode for you guys last week. Hopefully this episode gets out on time. But we welcomed a new little pet solace into the world. Baby Angelo was born late in the evening, so my wife and I spent about 5 days in the hospital. Nate, Dean, they really held down the fort here.
It was a crazy week around the shot. We managed to take care of it, and we survived.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. It was crazy good. Thank goodness for Great Lakes Anglers Co. and for Papa's Pilar. These guys, they get me woke up. They get me ready to start the morning at about, I don't know, when he starts crying anytime between 3:30 and 4 a.m. And these bad boys put me to sleep.
I haven't tried the rum yet. I have tried the coffee though. So
yeah, we might try some rum off camera. I don't need the law coming after me, but you've never had alcohol before, have you?
No, not once.
Don't incriminate yourself. So anyway, yeah, let's kind of dive into it. I'm going to give you a little bit of what the Derby looked like, guys. So we've been running it the last 3 years. It's always been a 3-month Derby. The very first year, it was March, April, May. The second year, which would have been last year, was April, May, and June. We kind of wanted to see how that would all balance out. Well, this year we went back to March, April, and May. Now, depending on last year, we were lucky we didn't have any ice. Depending on what the conditions are, typically guys are out fishing in March. Typically we are out fishing in March, and my philosophy was 15 days in March, 10 days in March is going to be better than all 30 in June. We just don't have that size of fish in the system in June. We just not enough to weigh, and especially not one that's going to outweigh one that you could possibly catch in March or April full of eggs. Now, the funny thing is the winning fish this year didn't even have eggs. It was a big boy. So
it's pretty ridiculous.
So I definitely like the way that it was set up. We're going to definitely do that moving forward, having it start in March. But what's crazy is with the Derby starting in March, we have to start prepping December and January because we have a huge fishing show in January, right? Like we have a 4-day fishing show in January that realistically takes up about a week. We had a floater there. We had about a week and a half of our time between moving everything down there, selling for 4 days, and then moving everything back, restocking the shelves. Typically, we go through a big remodel every year. We like to put something else up or do something new. So it takes a lot of time out. And then next thing you know, boom, it's the middle of February. And we like to have our sign-up parties.
And this year, fishing started late February, early March. It was already going pretty good. I mean, not limits necessarily, but you could go out for an afternoon and pick away at 5 to 10 fish.
And one of our best days, like me and Louie, after the show, we were back and we were cleaning stuff up, and I was like, dude, Louie, we gotta take a break. Let's get out of here. So we snuck out and we went trolling for like an hour and a half, and we went 5 for 7 on Atlantics, and that would have been January 20th ish in there. So like without the ice season, you can really get out and do a lot of fishing. But March was just much more active. We saw any fish that was weighed in March was more than what was weighed in June last year. But we just saw a lot bigger fish. And for the longest time, we had one that was 27.25 inches, 8 pounds, 8 pounds, 4 ounces that was leading the Derby all the way up until May.
It was early May. Right?
It was May 12th. So May 12th, Joe came in. Joe ended up winning the Derby. May 12th, Joe came in probably around 11 o'clock. The only thing that I didn't keep notes on is what time these fish were weighed, because it doesn't really matter.
It was right after I got in the shop. So
it was afternoon.
Right around noon.
Yeah, it was right around noon then.
He said he had just started fishing. It was one of the first fish that they caught.
Yep.
And he came flying in through the door.
Yep, he did. A huge smile on his face. Joe fishes a lot. And he catches a lot of fish. So when he pulled up to the dock and was like, hey, I got a big one, I was like, how big is big? Well, he flipped the lid on his live one. I was like, oh my God. And you could tell it didn't have eggs in it. You could tell it was just a thick fish. Well, he ended up weighing a dirty 30. So I would say out of all the predictions we made in the Derby pre-show, I got one thing right. And that was that we were going to weigh a dirty 30. But other than that, I was pretty wrong on everything, including when this fish came in. This fish was weighed on May 12th, and it was weighed on the U.S. side, vertical jigging, just a jigging plastic, not even any bait. So it's like, you never know what's going to happen. You never know when that fish is going to come in. And that's a big reason why we do the Derby for 3 months, because it allows everybody an opportunity. Even if you only get out a few times, it gives you an opportunity to get out there and try and do it. And, we gave away over $3,000 this year in prizes. We gave away over 25 prize packs, over $3,000, which is a huge testament to all the sponsors that helped back this Derby and helped do it. We had guys like Fat Boy Jigs, Mags Custom Rods, Wyandotte Lure, Thump 'em, JT Custom Tackle, Lure Lipstick, a couple guys, Tom. We had a couple guys that just step up and donate some money into the pot that were able to give back. And we were able to give away, I'd say out of that $3,000, I'd say a third of that, about $1,000, went back to the kids. And that doesn't even include all the tackle packs that they got from all like the, leftover tackle that we had. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those kids were coming through, rummaging through that bucket, grabbing handfuls of stuff. It was sweet.
Here's some good stuff.
Really good stuff.
It wasn't just crap.
For a $10 ticket.
Right.
So if you didn't do it this year, I highly suggest putting it on your calendar. We're going to have a sign-up party mid-February of 2025. Derby's going to start March 1st of 2025. But yeah, man, it was super cool. We had over 270 anglers.
That's unbelievable.
I was hoping hit like 200 to 250.
It's great.
So
to see that many guys engaged in it.
Yeah, and over 30 of them were kids. So I would have liked to see the kids' participation be a little bit better. I would have liked to see more fish weighed in from the kids. Not that they didn't. They did a great job, and they did better than last year. But I would have liked to see more kids weigh fish. But a huge reason for that is, and I don't even blame the anglers and the parents and stuff, but the weather was horrible.
Terrible.
It was very cold, very windy. A lot of these fish that were getting weighed in were coming in on days where, I mean, I wouldn't be dragging my kid out there.
Every day it blew in the spring.
Dude.
There wasn't a single day that I fished that it was calm.
No, and that's something else. We're gonna definitely touch on that. And for you guys out there that fish the St. Clair River, specifically, the Detroit River is its own monster. But for you guys that fish the St. Clair River, let us know below in the comments. Did you guys have a tough year? Because everyone that we've talked to that's come through the shop has struggled. And I'm not saying a horrible year. Like, everybody caught fish, we all caught limits, but it wasn't easy by any means. It's been easy. I learned a lot about a lot of the fishermen out there. When fishing's not easy, they kind of give up. So maybe we'll need to do some more tips and tricks videos.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll need to do more on the water segments and stuff like that to kind of help you generate some more bites. But fishing's not always going to be easy.
No, and with all the rain and the wind that we had this spring, I think a lot of guys were either forced to adapt to those new conditions or they just didn't fish at all. And I think that as an angler, being able to adapt to different conditions or something that you're not used to is a really key part in having success on the water.
Yeah.
And that definitely strengthened my skills this spring.
Yep.
Getting to the boat launch and seeing that the water's absolute chocolate milk and it's blowing 15 miles an hour rather than typical green water conditions on a nice calm day.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to dirty our water. So like when it becomes chocolate milk, it was nasty. Like typically we'll get some bad storms and we'll get a green tint to it. We have very blue water. So for it to be chocolate milk, and like you said, you pull up to the launch and it's like, whoa. And then you get over to the Canadian side, because typically the Canadian side will clean up sooner and the Canadian side's dirty. Yeah. Now you got to, we got to change our colors. We got to change our cadence. Maybe we need to do the live bait. Maybe we need to go find some cleaner water. Maybe we do need to fish in the middle of the river because that's where the mud line is. Every year it's just so cool because we learn so much. And the Derby is a big reason for us, at least, to get out there, because even though we're working it, we're not the ones weighing our fish. Someone else that's working the shop is weighing our fish. Believe me, I don't want you to win it. So unless you come in and lay down a true hog, then you can have the W. But
me and Parker spent 3 straight days on the water trying to catch, as we call it, Big Bertha. We're looking for Big Bertha.
And that's just the walleye side of things.
Yeah, that was night fishing. That was, whipping, casting at night, jigging.
Yep.
We tried a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
And we couldn't make it.
Yeah. And it was a weird, like, again, it was a weirder year in the sense, like, we didn't get a lot of, like, giant fish. We didn't get a lot of fish, like, over that really big threshold, but we got a lot of good fish. Like, our top three places were all fish over 26.5 inches, all fish over 8 pounds.
Yeah.
That's walleye. That's fantastic.
I would say that this year it seemed there was more random big fish, too. You'd be on a school of fish and be 17-incher, 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 then all of a sudden 27. And it's just a random, not an absolute giant, but good fish.
There's a lot of small fish in the system right now.
Now it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Lake Erie and Saginaw Bay, they're doing their thing. We're definitely feeling it. We've got a lot of short fish in the system. I think I caught my first short fish was about 12.5 inches, and we caught them sometime towards the end of May, maybe the beginning of June. Typically, we don't see those fish until July. Excuse me. So it was very, very surprising.
It was that end of May, early June. We had a really good lake bite going on.
Yep.
And out, right at the mouth of the channels.
Yep.
You and I were both out there the same day, and it took me over 25 fish to keep my 6.
Out there in the shipping channel. Yeah. Yeah, that was brutal.
And the keepers that you did catch were 15 on the nose.
Yeah, 15 and a half. And I don't like keeping them 15 on the nose because you never know what's going to happen. You get in and it's not worth paying the fine over. Right. So it's like you want to get them 15 and a half or more. Ideally, when I'm on charters, I want more because these guys want to take home meat. And it's like, but it's a very, very, as frustrating as guys were coming in, it was like, hey guys, see the silver lining. Like, we're going to have very good fishing in the future, barring any like natural disasters.
I can't wait to see what next year.
Yeah, I mean, even this fall, I'm excited to see a lot of those fish that were at 15 should be a lot chunkier and a little bit longer. Yep. And then you go into next spring, it's going to be very interesting to see. Hopefully some bigger fish for the Derby.
I'd like to see that.
The kids did an awesome job. Boone Oberzut ended up winning, and I knew his dad's got him out fishing all the time. The kid's 3 years old. He knows how to jig. He knows how to feel bites. It's very funny. But Boone won. He had... what was his? His was about 22 inches and 5.5 pounds, I believe it was, just under 5.5 pounds. So, and Boone caught that one vertical jigging with live bait as well. So jigging a plastic with live bait. I believe, I could be wrong, I believe it was caught on the anchovy Hook 1 Wyandotte worm. You can only get that worm one place.
Here.
Boom. Here.
And it was a killer all spring.
I'll tell you what, man, that purple with that like pinkish gray on the bottom has been unbelievable. It's our alewife color, or anchovy. I'm sorry. It's our anchovy worm, and it's been awesome. So if you need to see it or you want to check it out, www.hook1baitandtackle.com, or come visit us in the store. But the anchovy worm was an absolute slayer. That worked out really well for us. Yep. And then the winning kid on the salmon side, we weren't even going to do a salmon division for the kids just because I wasn't sure how involved they were going to be in the salmon fishing. A lot of the times it's a trolling program out there, so I wasn't sure. The last thing I want to deal with is cheating, and I don't even want it. That's why the Derby's $10 to get in. Yeah. We try to keep the grand prize smaller and do more giveaways. That's where a lot of that entry money goes. Like, quick math, we had 271 anglers, so $2,710. We gave away over $3,000 in product. So anyone that wants to check me on the money and the math, there you go. Yeah. That's where a lot of our giveaways, and that $3,000 given away doesn't even include the prize money that we gave away for first, second, third, and then the first place salmon and trout, and for the kids division. Yeah. So the salmon division kind of came up in the kids. As the year went on, we had kids that were catching salmon, and then we had a group of kids, they fished so hard. And they were fishing off the wall right downtown, and the one kid caught a salmon. He goes, "Hey, can I weigh this in?" It's like, you know what? Let's do it. Yeah, might as well. Whatever. You know what I mean? It's just another tackle pack. It's a little gift card for the kids is all they're going to win, but it gives them a little bit of competition. We ended up having a kid bring in a 27.25-inch, 7 pounds, 12-ounce steelhead. An absolute stud that he caught on a bottom bouncer.
I didn't even catch a steelhead.
That's why you do the Derby. That's why you do the Derby, because not only did that kid have the catch of his lifetime that he's not going to forget, little Michael Felsack, awesome fish. And that kid's been a warrior. He's been fishing actually all 3 years we've had the Derby. He's been out. His dad keeps him fishing. It's really cool. But yeah, he caught that fish. So not only does he have the fish memory of a lifetime, now he won a tackle pack. He got his picture taken in the bait shop with this big fish. Yep. It was super, super cool to see. So the kids really did show out this year. The walleye was a little bit smaller than last year, but the fact that it was caught jigging instead of pulling worms is something that I'm really happy about. Yeah. And then as far as the adults go, like I said, we had every single fish was over 26.25. Every single fish was over 8 pounds. The winner was a 30-incher, 8 pounds, 8 ounces, caught on the American side here in Marine City, actually. Close to the launch that's all I'll say. Close to the launch. He caught it jigging. Didn't even have live bait on. He was supposed to be perch fishing. He got blown off the lake. So it's funny how something like that can happen. And then the next thing you know, he's walking away with $500 cash, a Hook 1 hat, a Hook 1 shirt, all of our plastics, jigs. I mean, you almost end up winning $650 for a $10 raffle ticket. No. So that was really cool to see. Our big salmon went 29.5 inches. It went 10 pounds, 11 ounces.
Stuff.
What took me by surprise was when a lot of these fish were caught. Louis, John, and you went back and forth for 3 days. 2 days. May. Oh, when was it? It was May 12th to the 14th. So how about that? May 12th. So I've got my notes written down here. May 12th was when the big walleye was weighed. The 30-incher was weighed. And from May 12th to May 14th, we had 4 Atlantic salmon come in over 10 pounds. And then in that time frame, too, we had a lot of 8-pounders that were coming in that just never made the cut.
A lot of 8s. Yeah. And I know I caught a couple during that time frame that
didn't even get weighed. And Louis, too. Louis was on him. John was big. John's a madman. Shout out to John Molman. He really took the time. What I love about John is he took the time. He brought his boat over here from St. Joe's. He salmon fishes over on St. Joe's all the time, or in the spring. He salmon fishes in St. Joe. He brought his boat back over here, rigged the whole thing up, and said, I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks Atlantic salmon fishing. I don't care about the cohos. I don't care about the kings. I don't care about the steelhead. I want to figure out these Atlantics. What John figured out this year, and again, it's only 1 year.
Right.
So it's not an end all be all. It's not gospel. But what John found out this year, and what I hope to build on in the next couple years, is something that you guys simply wouldn't believe. Where these fish are hanging out, right in the middle of your guys' walleye drifts, but you got to target them differently. You've got to really mess around with your speed, really mess around with your baits. That conversation is for another day. A big thing with the Derby is I'm not going to give away all the information.
No.
Unfortunately, it's just not fair to those guys. Like for Joe to catch that 30-incher, close to the launch is as good as I can do. Because Joe wouldn't want me to tell you what he was using, not the color. I have to know because we're trying to run a clean Derby. Right. But just so you guys know, like if you were to bring in information, I'm not going to spew your information. I can't spew other guys. But what John found out, you jumped in his boat a few times too.
Yeah,
I never got in his boat.
The first day I got in his boat, I asked him, how fishing had been, and he just started nodding his head. And John's a very humble guy.
Mm-hmm.
And for him just to start nodding his head and smirking a little bit, I knew it was going to be something special. And it was. He showed me how to do it right away. And then at the end of the night, he was keeping count somewhere. He had mentioned that he got over 90 bites the first week that he was here. And he was fishing morning and afternoon every day. He was over 90 bites a week.
And releasing a lot of the fish.
Most of them.
Releasing a majority of the fish, which, in my opinion, in Atlantic salmon, out here in Atlantic salmon is the best eating fish you're going to catch. And I was on the bandwagon of coho for the longest time. And we kept some 26 or 27-inch Atlantic. I was like, this fish is going to be way too big. Put it on the grill. Delicious. Unbelievably delicious. Super mild. The meat on them is really good. A lot of the times when you see like sashimi style salmon and stuff, it's Atlantic salmon. Yeah. You can tell when you cut into it, you can see the fat that marbles through it. I mean, it's beautiful looking meat. But that was pretty crazy, man. So, and that's like the beginning third of May, right? Like right there in that first chunk of May. And a majority of the fish were caught trolling. I will say that. And a big reason is because they were covering water. You guys got on a really cool bite that was just rod in hand, rod and reel, basically like drift fishing. So that was really cool. But to be able to see all these fish come in and to keep those records of when they were caught, when they were weighed in, what they were caught on, I mean, I was totally mind blown.
It wasn't just that week that salmon fishing was good. We definitely had a bigger push of fish, bigger run of fish through that little time frame. But before that, it was a lot of 4 and 6 pounders, and after that, it was a lot of 4 and 6 pounders. And then we started seeing an even smaller class of fish that we were letting go for the most part. But 12 to 17, 18-inch fish.
A lot of the jacks coming through.
Catching a lot of
them. That's the one thing too about the Atlantic fishery. I think there's way more than anybody realizes. Even ourselves included. There's way more than we realize. There's a lot of big ones in the system. And like when guys call us, like, where are they catching these? Guys, I am not kidding you. They're catching them from just above the Blue Water Bridge all the way out into Lake St. Clair. I mean, these fish are everywhere. They're not following thermoclines. They're not following water temperatures. They're following bait. They're specifically following bait.
That's what makes them so hard to chase from.
Correct.
That there isn't really a true way to pattern besides go where the bait.
Yeah, you got it.
So sporadic.
And even finding the bait is hard. And then you get on the bait, and you got to hope that you're on bait, but you're not on too much bait because, in our case, if we're float fishing, I want them to see my minnow, not the other 100,000 that are swimming around in this little eddy or wherever we're fishing, around a bend or whatever, wherever bait's going to sit. But it was absolutely remarkable. For me, that's a big reason. Like, obviously, I think it'd be a lot of fun to win the Derby and put the trophy out here. And I'd have the trophy on the table. Unfortunately, it's getting Joe's name on it right now. So I'd have the trophy on here, but it's a super cool trophy. And I would love to win it. I'd love to have my name on it, just to be a little selfish, maybe a little bit of bragging rights, tickle the ego. We're all fishermen here. We've all got an ego. But for me, the fun part is keeping all this information, seeing all this information. This is actually one of my favorite podcasts to do because I get to come on here and just nerd out. Like, hey, this is what we saw. A majority of our fish, I would say 90% of our weighed walleye were caught vertical jigging. Yeah. And I would say 70% of our weigh fish actually came in March, even though we only probably weighed in it was funny because you'd see you'd have that nasty weather come through, and then you'd have good weather come through, and you'd weigh a bunch of fish in like 2 days, and then you'd have another stretch again, and you'd wait for the weather patterns to change, and then they'd change, and then you'd weigh a bunch of fish again the next couple days. So like, even though we weren't having fish come in every day in March, I mean, we probably only weighed fish 8 days in March, 9 days in March. But they were really solid fish, and 2, it was typically right after one of those weather changes, which is it speaks a lot to how these fish are acting, especially the big fish.
Absolutely.
Especially the big fish. What else did you see while you were out there? Not only chasing big walleyes, but chasing those Atlantics, because you were actively fishing the Derby. I mean, with school and everything, you didn't really come back to work until mid-April, I think it was. But you were chasing fish.
Yeah, so I got out of school every day at noon. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that, and it was pretty fun. I had probably my best spring ever fishing, even though the conditions were tough. And it seemed like every day out there something was changing. Where in a typical year, you can find a school of fish and they'll sit there for up to a week and you can take off. And there was one day we fished from noon to 1 o'clock, got a 4-man limit. Went the next day, didn't get a bite. And fish were constantly moving this year between all the rain and the water conditions. Everything constantly changed and constantly made the fish move.
Yeah, the inconsistency was driving me up a wall. Like, especially as like a charter fisherman, there's typically a period of time in the spring where like, hey, my clients are going to show up, they're going to jump in the boat, we're going to go out and we're going to catch a limit. Whatever a limit is, we're going to go catch it. It might take us 2 hours, it might take us 5.5 hours, but we're going to come back with our full slot of fish. Absolutely brutal on that front this year. And the times of the year where it was supposed to be really good were actually our slower times. Yeah. And like right now, beginning of August, end of July, we're catching limits right off the weed beds. Yeah. And there's not a boat in the parking lot. It's insane to me. But guys put their boats away, especially because we had a tough spring. We're catching these fish jigging with no stinger, no minnow. So if you are a vertical jig fisherman listening to this podcast, get out there, find those weed beds anywhere from 16 to 21 foot of water. It just depends how far those weeds come out. It seems like right off the dock for the most part, just depending what the depth is off the dock. Right. But the fishing's been phenomenal. Just a simple jig and a plastic. Jigging wraps have been really good. Jigging spoons have been really good. Hair jigs. But a jig and a plastic has been getting the job done. No stinger hook, so you're not hanging yourself up on the weeds. You're not catching any of those extra snags that you get in the spring. No stinger hook, no minnow. Sometimes guys are using a chunk of night crawler. It does help a lot of the times for scent. Yeah, a lot of the times for scent. But a lot of times if you get out there, and a big thing is cadence. This time of the year, those fish want to chase. And I know that's not what we're talking about, but I figure if we're on it, we'll talk a little bit about it. But if those fish are going to chase, give them an aggressive presentation. Give them something that's going to catch their eye that they don't even have a chance to think about it. Like, see bait, eat bait.
Where rip and wrap and digging spoon.
Yeah.
Like that
but it's crazy to me because, like we were saying, that inconsistency. Like, there were days where I was going out on my charter and I'm like, man, I don't know what we're going to do. I went out the day before and we caught a 4-man limit jigging. And then I go out the next day and we don't put a program together. And then we finally, we go out 3 guys. We'll put, I'm not saying we limit it every day, but we're going to put over a dozen in the boat.
Right.
But one day you're jigging, the next day you're pulling worms.
We had a day we went out and refished we went out and tried to find some fish for your charter. We failed. We didn't catch track. And then the next day we got back to the dock and you looked at me and said, I have no clue what I'm going to do tomorrow. Next day I came in at noon and you were cleaning a pile of fish on that.
And that comes back to what you mentioned earlier, something that we talk a lot about with our buddy Joe, is adapting to those conditions. Absolutely. And that's you talk about, they do more tournament fishing. We're talking about tournament fishing. You got to be able to adapt. Well, it's the same with guiding. The difference is with tournament fishing, you get a few days practice and then you're go. Guiding, we're basically out there every day, at least when the season's busy. Yeah. You're out there every day, and to be out there every day or at least 6 days a week and to not be able to put together a consistent pattern, whether it's location or depth or color or cadence or live bait or no live bait, like to not be able to put together a pattern, that's the first time that's happened to me in 7 years. And I firmly believe, I don't mean to cut you off, but I firmly believe It's because of the changing weather and weather patterns.
Absolutely. And not only were you out there, I was out there too, and we were communicating constantly.
Yeah.
And there was days that neither one of us could
No,
figure out a pattern.
and Louis was out there, and
Right.
Dean was out there,
Everybody.
and all of our customers were out there. I mean, I got customers coming in, and they're like, "Where are the walleyes?" They're down, and you know what's crazy? And this is where I'm surprised in the Derby. I mean, I know we're only open till 6 p.m., but like all the fish that we weighed, for the most part, there were maybe a couple whipping fish. Most of the fish that we caught were fish that were caught during the day.
Midday.
Yeah.
I mean, weird patterns.
And well, I had a lot of my bites, believe it or not, a lot of my best bites with charters would be from like 9:30 to 11:30, 10 to 11:30 in the morning, like middle of the morning. You'd go out, and a lot of times that's because that's when a lot of boats leave. I don't know what it is with like, I don't know, like fishing. Like I get nobody wants to be out there on a slow day, and I get like some days you've got stuff to do and got places to go. But I don't understand what it is when guys like put all this time in, they've got all this money into fishing, they launch their boat at 6 a.m. and they're done fishing by 8 because the fish aren't biting. It's like, why? They are going to bite. They're somewhere and they're going to bite. Like the guys the night before crushed them whipping. The guys the night before crushed them off the seawall casting. Okay, so there's fish. We got to figure out what they're going to bite, when they're going to bite it. I mean, it's just crazy to me. And I had a guy come in one time and we were talking about it. And I think a lot of it has to do with that limits and minutes culture, which you know I hate.
Right.
I hate it so bad. And I'm very vocal about it. I think it's horrible. I don't think that's the reason you should go out fishing. I mean, obviously, you want to put meat in the freezer, and it's your license, not mine. So I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But if you base your happiness and your enjoyment of fishing on catching a limit, like I didn't even like realize that was like a thing, because like when you go down to the saltwater and fish, that's not a thing. No. When you go out bass fishing, that's not a thing. When you go walleye fish other places around the country, that's not really a thing. But it's like limits. And it's just driven home, whether it's Lake Erie or Detroit River or Lake St. Clair or St. Clair River or Saginaw Bay. It's like, oh, you know, I get calls from customers too. Like, when are we going to catch limits? I don't have that answer.
And to me, it's not about limits. I would say that it's more enjoyable to go out, figure out a pattern, and figure out where they are, what they're eating, what they're doing. That's why I fish. I don't fish to go catch my limit fish. I fish to go have fun and enjoy it. And for me, that's figuring out those fish.
And the proof's in the pudding, dude. How many times have you pulled up back to the boat launch with 24 fish in your live well, 18 fish in your live well when you just go out with buddies? Like, it doesn't happen. And even when I go out by myself, you know, I'll come back in with 2-3 fish. I might go out there and catch 20 fish, and I'm gonna come back with 2 or 3. And again, I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where, you know, the boat's right here, the water's right there. If I want to go catch fish, I can have them. So I don't blame anybody for coming out, catching limits, freezing a bunch of fish. But to make it solely what the day is about, whether you catch a limit or not, I don't know. I just have a hard time with that, because like and maybe it's just because that's like not what I fell in love with doing. Like I just, you know, you're out there enjoying God's country, whether it's the sunrise or the sunset, you know, whether it's loons or swans, or flocks of ducks or whatever the situation is. There's just so much out there to see and enjoy. So I'm sorry for going off on that little tangent, but that's always been a big thing for me. And that's why I love the Derby, is like, don't go out and catch a limit. Go out for one bite. Go out for that one bite.
Always growing up, I've heard don't leave fish to find fish.
Never.
Me and Parker had a day where we caught 40 fish, and we kept leaving our fish. We were looking for that one big bite, and that was, you know, Big Bertha. We spent 3 days in a row looking for it. The time frame that we thought that would be in was, I think it was the May full moon.
Yep.
And that's when we thought it would happen. It didn't happen. But
no.
We had those 3 days was go fishing, catch, you know, we'd keep 4 or 5 17, 18-inch fish just for the freezer, or just to go eat that night. And then it was, okay, we got to keep moving. You know, we didn't get stuck on sitting in the same spot and beating up the same fish over and over. It's move around, enjoy it, but try and find that one big bite, or that one special bite.
And we talk about like the inconsistency in the weather patterns. That has a lot to do with the spawn. Like, we didn't weigh any fish with eggs past probably like that second week of April. And typically here in the St. Clair River, we get a really good spawn in May. Like the marble eye is always that, what is it, the third weekend in May. It's typically like May 19th, like somewhere in there. And every year up until about 5 years ago, every year you'd have giant fish weighed in. Now, one, it's the pressure. We're taking away a lot of these fish. Two, it's the pressure early in the season. Those fish don't have time to get in those big pods and those big schools when we're away banging on them in February and March. They just don't have that opportunity. But you could tell that like a lot of fish spawned on the full moon in March.
Yeah, March,
it was like towards the middle to end of March, and that full moon just had it. Like the water was the right color. It must have been the right temperature. It seemed a little cold, but I'm not a walleye.
April 2nd was the first time that I caught a spawned up. And I know
April 2nd, yeah, and that's early. That's even for Detroit. Like a lot of times you'll catch fish up in Saginaw that are like that, but that's a totally different fishery. But even like Detroit, you get that first wave of fish around then, but a lot of the times you don't start seeing fish till the middle to end of April, when you start getting those big fat hens like full of eggs. But it seemed like a lot of people missed it this year.
This year was the first and second week of April. That's when you were getting.
And we don't realize as anglers like how quick that process really is. It's a day. It's a day. So like if the water's right, the moon's right, like if everything lines up, those fish are going to do it in a day and they're gone. And they all of a sudden just went from pre-spawn to post-spawn and like immediately after post-spawn, which can be a really, really finicky fish to try and catch. And then eventually they start getting really hungry within the next couple days. They start getting hungry and start feeding hard. But it was just really interesting to see that as far as like when the fish spawned, how they were acting, the bait they were eating. Whether it was a salmon, a trout, or a walleye, I would say 85% of the fish we cleaned had, 1.5 to 2 inch shiners in them. They were dialed in on small bait this year.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. I mean, cleaned a couple Atlantics that were just full of small.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the smallest minnows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You can't even see them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're chasing.
Right.
That's their main food source. I think gobies are starting to become more and more and more involved in the diet.
Yep.
The money goby, the one money goby came up with this year. And water was clean. That was the best.
That bait's been a slayer. Yeah, that. And I'm not saying it specifically because it's Hook One brand or like obviously I'm biased. I mean, my buddy Cody's the one that gave me the idea to go back to that anchovy worm.
Yeah.
But between that anchovy worm and that money goby that we came up with, those products worked really good. The only reason I'm saying that is that comes from information from you guys. Like from you guys coming into the store being like, hey, this works. From me being able to be born and raised on the river and grow up here. That color might not work down in Detroit. That color might not work in Saginaw. That color might not work over in Green Bay. But you know where it works? Here. Because that's what those fish are keying in on.
I'm not just saying that the money goby was good because it's a Hook One bait. I truly believe that that's good bait. I used plenty of others that weren't.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would say 90% of the baits that I use are Bunker City,
Yeah.
Lure Lipstick, Thump 'em.
Yep.
I mean, Angler's Choice is huge.
Angler's Choice is good. I mean, there's a lot of really good companies. The Wyandotte Lure, like obviously they make our anchovy worm, but they've got the Golden Goby. That's a really good color. They've got the Diablo, which is that black and gold with the red tail. Like they've got some really good. There's a lot of really good companies coming out with a lot of really good products. It's a big reason why I have no like. You see, especially in today's day and age with like sponsorships and pro staff and stuff like that. There's too many good companies out there. Like you can't set yourself just to one plastic unless it's a Hook One jigging minnow.
I wouldn't be able to lock myself down to just one company and say, yeah, I'm only going to use Lunker Cities or I'm only going to use whatever company. Couldn't do it.
No,
because there's one day I'll use an Arkansas Shiner from Lunker City.
Yep.
And the next day it's a Houdini from English Choice.
From English Choice. Yeah, that's a good color too.
It is very
but yeah, so I guess what was as we kind of get closer here to our giveaway, which hang on guys, we're gonna go just through this and we're gonna give away at least tell you how to win a bottle of rum, and we'll pick it not next week but the week after that. We'll let it go for 2 weeks. What'd you think of the Derby overall? First off, like I said, you didn't come back until about the middle of April, so you got to view it as like a customer for a little while, and then obviously we got you back in the swing of things here. Like, what did you see? What did you notice?
Overall, I would say I saw more big fish this year, even though the majority of the fish were small. It seemed like they were still bigger fish. Being consistently small. Like every time you went out, you catch at least one good. You might not go catch 5 or 6, 2 days out of the week, but every time you go, it seems like about one good one or 2 good ones
Yeah.
there.
Randomly.
Right, just completely random, mixed in with 15 to 17.
Maybe one day we'll get a tournament to come back to St. Clair. Maybe one day.
But hopefully.
Or we'll have to put one on, which is a lot of work. That's why I like doing the Derby.
Yeah.
That's why I like doing the Derby. Speaking of that, though, we just recently had, I don't mean to cut you off, we recently just had our kids fishing contest in downtown Marine City. It's a free kids fishing contest downtown for anyone 12 years or under. Our friend Matt Horn puts that on. He's been putting that on now since 2017. Sorry if I'm wrong, Matt. But it's been going on for a while. It peaked right before COVID in 2019. COVID kind of shut it down. It slowly started to pick back up. Last year they had about 88 kids. This year we had over 140 kids sign up.
It's so amazing.
Over $2,500 in prizes given away. And it's literally free. We supply all the night crawlers and bait. We actually have rods there, so if a kid doesn't own a rod, we buy a bunch of rods so the kids can use them and even possibly take them home if they don't have one and they want to continue to fish. But it was just incredible to see that many people get together. And the only reason I bring that up is, one, shout out Matt. That's freaking awesome what you did, dude. And I can't wait to do it again next year and be a much bigger part of it next year. But the derbies seem to be what a lot of people enjoy to do. The Marble Eye is a very successful tournament. It's a 3-day tournament. Our derby has been very successful going forward. It's a 3-month tournament.
Even the Algonac
The Pickerel tournament is a 3-day tournament. Yeah.
That's not in.
Now, believe me, I would love to get a legitimate 2-day shootout, even a 1-day shootout. I've been trying to get our one buddy that runs the Madness event on Lake St. Clair to do a river event for us. There's a couple other trails that won't come here either. But I just really, really want to see what this place can do if we actually put, 100 to 150 sticks, like guys that know what they're doing. And it's no offense to like any of the locals around here, but like, you guys know the water. We fish the water. We know. I want to get people out here that are used to fishing different bodies of water, that don't typically fish this body of water. I would just love to see like a big tournament. And I know Bill down the street has been wanting to do one for a long time. So maybe it's something we work with him and kind of hash out. But I truly, truly love these derbies. I love people having the opportunity, like, oh, I've got to work today, I can't go. Or, oh, I've got a baseball game today. Or I've got to go coach basketball, but I'll go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I'll go the next day. Or I'll go out whipping and weigh it the next day. Like,
that's the greatest part about it.
It's huge.
You don't have to lock yourself down to 1 or 2 days or even 3 days. You have 3 months.
You have 3 months.
And try and catch that big fish.
Yep. And it's $10. So even if you don't get out fishing, you have a $10 raffle ticket that you can win a prize pack from any of these sponsors. I mean, the stuff that these guys gave away right here, was unbelievable. So just super blessed about that. So what we were able to give away as these giveaway packs, just randomly selecting contestants' names, was super cool. So I don't know. I'm just really excited about it. I've got a lot that I want to talk about. We're kind of running out of time. But it was truly an awesome derby. It was so cool to see that many participants. Like I said, over 270 anglers, over 30 kids, over 30 fish weighed in. Every species of salmon that comes through here minus, I guess we didn't see a king either. But coho, steelhead, Atlantics, we all saw. I'm surprised we didn't see a lake trout.
Yeah.
We haven't seen one in 2 days. Yeah. Yeah, that Port Huron crowd, I don't think they fish our derby very hard. So maybe they should pick it up. Put your money where your mouth is, boys.
Those guys catch some big walleye up there, too.
Put your money where your mouth is, boys. There's some really big walleye up there. And all the time, that's the best thing about running the derby, is like constantly, I caught one that was 31 inches, probably 12 pounds. I didn't see it. I didn't put it on a tape. We didn't get it on a scale. And that was the same thing with the Ultimate Derby. Oh, I could have won a free boat if I would have weighed this. Well, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Luckily, we'll be back next year. March 2025 will be starting again. The sign-up party, which I love doing the sign-up party. That's actually like one of my favorite parts about the derby is doing the sign-up party. We throw mad sales in the store. A lot of stuff's on sale, jigs, plastics, anything that you're going to need really for the Derby. That kind of lets us run a sale. It's kind of our welcome back as well. Like, hey, open water fishing's right around the corner. The feeling is very good. We got good vibes.
Yeah.
Right? The vibes are high,
Like,
but
you're
everybody's
getting
ready to
you're
go.
getting excited
Oh,
for that time of year.
dude, it's the best.
The,
You hear the first bird chirp.
the salmon portion is just, like we were talking about that little couple day period in May was interesting.
Oh,
with
yeah.
with all the big Atlantic. I was on the phone with Louis as I was fighting a fish, trolling, telling him how I was gonna.
Yeah.
That's how competitive it was.
And he's on the phone with
during
you
those
watching
days.
his bobber where it's
Right,
like
right.
it's just it was so cool,
I'm
dude.
fighting a fish and John's passing me going the other way down the river. Like we were all there
And
was
Pete's sitting in the bait shop weighing them. What's wrong with that? But hey, we'll wrap up here in just a second. Let's give away some rum. I know you guys have been listening. I know some of you guys have been waiting for the giveaway. You've been super patient. So we're gonna give away a bottle of Papa's Pilar. They have been awesome to work with, and really all these guys have. Everybody that we've been working with, from Whitewater to Papa's, from Cortland Line all the way to the Great Lakes Anglers Co. Which, guys, if you have not tried this coffee, I'm not even kidding you. I'm not saying it because they're one of our sponsors. It is absolutely lights out. Yeah, it's fresh ground. We're gonna have the coffee pot going next year, and we're gonna be carrying his coffee. I love that some of the money goes back to conservation and efforts in conservation, and especially up there, they got to deal with the commercial fishery. So he's putting money back into Captain Adam. He's putting money back into, us, the sport fishermen, and the guys that do it for they love it. So
the Master Braid, unbelievable
from Cortland,
unbelievable.
yeah.
Line.
Well, anyone that comes in here and buys a rod and reel combo, if you notice you've got yellow line on your pole or on your rod, that is Cortland Master Braid. That's what we use to put on your guys' stuff. We're not using any of this cheap stuff from overseas. Whether it's your jigging line or your whipping and bottom bouncer line, any braided line that comes out of here is typically from Cortland. It's USA made. They're right over in New York. Those guys are awesome. Obviously, Papa's has been great. They're giving us a bunch of rum to give away to you guys. That's what they want to do. Unfortunately, here in Michigan, you guys can't order this stuff online. We're going to have it in some retailers here in Michigan soon, especially around here in Marine City, because we work closely with a lot of these people. So you will be able to find this rum here. It is delicious. You want to talk about getting away on island time? You wouldn't know.
3 years and I can
In
try.
3 years, Nate will try it. But no, we're going to give away a bottle of this. And to win the bottle, it's going to be super easy. We've done a giveaway like this before on our YouTube, so it's going to be fairly easy to enter. It's going to be even easier to get bonus entries. You're going to see a box that's going to pop up right here. That's going to have all the rules in it. So all you have to do to win this rum is be a subscriber to our YouTube channel, Hook One Fishing, and share this video. So wherever you're seeing this video, whether it's on YouTube or it's on Facebook or it's on Instagram, wherever you're seeing this video, share it. Subscribe and share. That's all you've got to do to be entered and to win. Now, if you want to win some bonus points, that's also super easy. You go follow us on Facebook. Boom. Automatic bonus point. If you've already followed us, you're there. You got to follow Papa's Pilar on Facebook. Papa's Pilar. It's all over the place. Follow them on Facebook. Boom. Another bonus point. So now you've got 3 entries. Yes, I can track all this fairly easy. So I'll make sure that you get your bonus points and don't try and weasel out of them. So follow them on Facebook or on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or both. And then, that's the other one is Instagram.
Yep.
So that would be your 3 bonus entries. Would be a follow us on Facebook and Instagram, follow Papa's on Facebook and Instagram, and share this video. And as long as you're subscribed, you're in. The last thing you got to do is comment done right below. Just let us know that you did it. Let us know that you're in. We want to know maybe where you shared it.
Yeah.
Maybe what your fish catch was. You can share anything with us. Which rum you'd want to win. Do you want to try their award-winning dark? Do you want their new blonde? Do you want their rye? Lot of options. So again, guys, if you want to win some rum, super easy. Subscribe. Hook One Fishing on YouTube. Please subscribe. It's right there. It's free. Hit the link. Subscribe there. Follow us on Facebook. Follow Papa's on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Follow Papa's on Instagram. Wherever you're seeing this video, share it. We're not asking you guys to spend any money. We're not asking you guys for any personal information. We simply just want this channel to grow. We genuinely want this podcast to grow. We've got access to some awesome guests. We've got access to some awesome companies. We want to bring you guys something new. We want to bring you guys something great, right?
Absolutely.
We talk about it all the time.
Make us famous.
Well, I don't know if I want to be famous.
We want to.
No, I want to be able to grocery shop in peace. So, yeah, and honestly, guys, we're going to continue to do these giveaways. So this week we're doing a Papa's giveaway. Next week we're going to have a Whitewater giveaway. We had an awesome conversation with the guys over there at Whitewater. We talk a lot about iCast. We talked a lot about what's coming up from them. We're going to be giving away a couple hats and some stuff like that from Whitewater. And we're going to do giveaways every week. Just about every week. So if you guys are tuning into the podcast, Louie and I always said it. I will always live by it. Our podcast listeners and our podcast supporters are the best. Like, they are the best of the best. They're constantly the ones commenting. They're constantly the ones that are sharing our stuff. Yep. They're constantly the ones that are on me like, hey, it's Monday at 7 a.m. Where's the next episode? My baby's been crying for 2 days, man. I'm just playing. But seriously, guys, we want to bring it to you. We can't thank you guys enough for the support. If you guys did join the Derby this year, we again can't thank you enough for the support.
It was unbelievable how many people we had.
Yeah. It was a really cool thing, and we're hoping to be better next year. If you guys have any advice for us, if you didn't like what we did, if you want to see us do something new, we love to listen, and we're super easy to get a hold of. Comment, message, email, come into the store. Like, we're not very hard to find. There's multiple ways to get a hold of us. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you want. Same goes with the podcast. We've got a lot of good guests lined up. We've got a lot of good people coming through, but we've got 40-something weeks of podcasts to do. So we're going to have a lot of guys coming through and a lot to talk about. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want to see. To help you guys out, remember, check this box here. You've got all the discount codes. You've got Hook 110 to save 10% on any of the Great Lakes Angler Co. coffee or any Papa's Pilar if you're out of state. Unfortunately, they won't ship it to us in Michigan. But Hook 110 to save 10%, or use the code below. It's pretty long to remember. It's WWEXUJ5. I hope. It's in writing right here. But that'll save you 25% on anything Whitewater. So obviously our next episode, we're going to be talking about all the new stuff that's coming out. But if you want to get in on these sun shirts, if you want to get in on these hats, if you want to get in on the bibs, the gloves, the masks, use the code below, save 25% at Whitewater. Or if you want to be a real badass, come into the store and get yourself the Hook 1 Whitewater Tech shirt with the St. Clair River logo on the back. Guys, I can't thank you enough for joining. Nate, what'd you think of your first podcast?
About time.
That's not fair.
I really enjoyed it.
That's not fair.
Really enjoyed being here.
Think we'll do a couple more?
Oh, yeah.
We'll do a couple more.
I was pretty nervous at the beginning, but
you know, it's the camera. I think the camera throws everybody off.
Talking to the cameras.
It's like where are the people? The laptop's here, so I can see what's going on when I look down here, but you guys are right there. Yeah. So anyway, that's all for us this week, guys. Thank you so much. Again, tune into the rules. I don't even want to go through them again. Tune into the rules, how to win the rum. Subscribe, comment that you did it below. Follow us on Facebook. Follow Papa's on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Follow Papa's on Instagram. Spread the love. It's all free to do. We appreciate you guys. We're going to see you next week on the Hook 1 Pod. Adios.